You can see everything. Can you see the clock below in the middle? That's the time left before tip-off, sorry. Now, I do want to say, as someone that has now been to 2 Fever games this season, this is the scene right before tip-off. This right here, a lot of empty seats. But when that clock hit, bro, tip-off, a lot of this bottom section fills up. From what I've seen, from twice I've been to the game.
Look at that arena, 5 minutes before tip-off on national television, and the upper bowl looks like a ghost town. This is the Indiana Fever in May 2025, the team that was supposed to be the WNBA's golden ticket, the franchise that compared themselves to Apple just months ago. And now they're playing to half-empty sections while their fanbase stays home. But here's what's actually happening in that building, because if you've never been to Gainbridge Fieldhouse for a Fever game this season, you're missing the real story.
So if you guys ain't ever been, you need to not say nothing. For real, because this middle section here always fills up right at tip off. It don't matter that it's 5 minutes left. It still could be, 5,000 to 6,000 people in the hallways ordering food, getting liquor and stuff like that, because the lines be excessively long. Now, this top section, it's going to stay like this the whole part of the game. Like ain't no doubt about it. It is definitely going to stay like this the whole part of the game.
That middle section he's talking about, it does fill up. The lower bowl gets packed right at tip-off because thousands of fans are still in the concourse dealing with concession lines that snake around corners. But that top section, those seats stay empty the entire game. And that's the problem Pacers Entertainment can't spin away. The Fever sold the dream. They drafted Caitlin Clark first overall in April 2024. They promised a culture shift. They talked about building a dynasty. And then Stephanie White came back as head coach in October 2024. And the cracks started showing immediately.
But this middle section definitely is going to be kind of full. Like you might have pockets here and there, like this lower level here with seats, couple seats, but all up in here, because this is where I sit at, right over here behind the Fever bench in section 3 here. But I'm here to tell you, this is bad for the Indiana Fever organization.
Tonight, we're on national TV. We're on CBS, and that means we need you to make some noise. So Fever fans, right now, let's do a mic check.
We're also live on A Life of Hobby.
2 minutes to tip off now, and you can see it clearly. That lower section he mentioned, still partially empty. The Ticketmaster zone in the middle, filling in but slowly. And those upper sections are a disaster. This is on Japanese television. This is being broadcast internationally. And the optics are brutal. Here's what makes this particularly devastating. The Fever averaged 17,036 fans per game in 2024, selling out nearly every night once Clark arrived. They were the hottest ticket in women's basketball. Fast forward to May 2025, and they're showing empty seats on national broadcasts. The difference? Stephanie White's coaching decisions.
Yeah. You remember how I told you these lower sections here? So this section right here, this lower section, probably stayed empty, bro, through the duration of the game. But back up here, where this Ticketmaster sign at and going on up, that's going to fill up. That always fills up. Most of the times I've been there, it's going to fill up. But it's still got 2 minutes left. You got to remember, these lines are long to get food, alcohol, and stuff like that. It's about 5,000 people still outside. But that top section, yeah. This let me see if I can pan over here. This top section, it ain't filling up. Because you got to think, a lot of people trying to just sit down at this point because they got all them damn steps and elevators and escalators and stuff like that to go up just to even get up.
He's defending the attendance, and he's partially right. If you've actually attended these games, the middle sections do fill up once tip-off happens. The lines for food and alcohol are genuinely excessive, but he's also revealing something crucial. He has to defend it at all. Last season, nobody questioned Fever attendance. The building was packed, the energy was electric, and Caitlin Clark was must-see television. This season, fans who traveled to Indianapolis are posting photos like this, and commentators have to explain why the arena looks empty. That's not a perception problem, that's a reality problem. And the reality is this: Caitlin Clark's fan base is staying home. Not because they stopped caring about her, because they've stopped believing in the organization around her.
How this section is going to look. But this lower section, remember I said like the first 7 to 8 rows, if it ain't nobody there, this probably how it is. But this middle lower section, I bet.
Look at that top section. He's admitting it outright now. It's not filling up. Those fans aren't coming down from the concourse. They're not stuck in elevator lines. They didn't buy tickets in the first place. Pacers Entertainment is facing a crisis they didn't see coming. They brought back Stephanie White thinking her Indiana roots and previous coaching experience would create continuity. Instead, they're watching their golden goose stop laying eggs, and they've got 3 options, none of them good. Option 1, slash ticket prices dramatically and admit they overestimated demand. Option 2, fire Stephanie White mid-season and create organizational chaos. Option 3, trade Caitlin Clark and start over.
Network debut, and she talks about this Caitlin Clark situation on ESPN with Shanae Aguma-Kay. Let's roll it. Let's listen.
To me, overall, officiating has been a universal issue this year. And that's not the goal of any league, but this is the reality. And when you think about the imperative to call more fouls, we're seeing the highest scoring season ever in WNBA history. That's largely because they're calling more fouls, right? Games are no longer 2 hours, they're 2.5 hours long. So you're seeing that there's an imperative to call more fouls, but there's still a lack of situational awareness or a lack of control of the game by the refs.
Sydney Colson just made her ESPN debut, and this is what she chose to talk about. The Alyssa Thomas flagrant foul on Caitlin Clark from the Connecticut Sun game in June 2024. The incident that got Thomas suspended 1 game. The play that had Clark's fans calling for league intervention. And Colson's take, the league overreacted because of social media optics. Watch her carefully here. She's talking about embellishment and slow motion creating narratives and vitriol against Alyssa Thomas. She's a former Fever player, someone who was in Indianapolis when Clark was getting hammered by opponents early in her rookie season. And she's on national television suggesting the league shouldn't have suspended Thomas at all.
Yes, the league was reacting to the optics of that image.
Yeah, which is what Tibbetts was saying, right?
Yeah, like if you walk by me and I'm doing this, but then if you play it faster and you see I was actually doing this,
right,
to move my nose, it looked different in freeze frame.
But the bigger picture issue here is that, like, in that situation, if you're watching it in real time, both players who are known to make their issues known got up and kept going.
That was my
and so
thing.
that's why I have a problem, because if you're looking at the reaction even to this day, it breaks my heart, because players, even in Alyssa Thomas's caliber, whether you think she did it intentionally or not, she's dealing with a heightened level of vitriol right now based off of what this situation created, and that doesn't sit well with me. If the league could really handle this better in real time and figuring out how we want more points, we want more fouls, but how do we keep an eye on these specific matchups so we can avoid the narratives getting out of our control? I hope that happens moving forward in the future.
Both players got up and kept going. That's her justification for why the league shouldn't have acted. The fact that Clark didn't stay down on the floor means the contact wasn't that bad, according to Colson's logic. But let's talk about what actually happened in that Connecticut game on June 10, 2024. Alyssa Thomas threw an elbow to Clark's head during a dead ball situation. The referees didn't call it in real time. Clark got up and kept playing because that's what she'd been doing all season, absorbing contact that didn't get called, getting back up and playing through it. The league reviewed the play after the game, saw the contact, and issued a flagrant 1 foul retroactively. Then they suspended Thomas for 1 game because it was her 2nd flagrant of the season. That's not the league being reactive to social media. That's the league enforcing their own rules. And Sydney Colson just went on ESPN and suggested they shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I mean,
They just justified that assault. Sydney Colson, this is a bad look for you, because you was former teammates with Caitlin Clark. You was there in Indiana. You was there when she was getting a lot of them assaults. And for you to say, well, the camera make it look like something different. Hell no, Sydney Colson. You say what she did was wrong. Guys, get down in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts about this. Keep them bills on. Till next time, man. Shake the haters off. I'm out.
Here's what makes Colson's commentary so problematic. She's framing this as a league office failure rather than a player accountability issue. She's saying the problem is that officials didn't control the game in real time, not that Alyssa Thomas threw an elbow at someone's head during a dead ball. She's concerned about the heightened level of vitriol Thomas received on social media. And yes, the personal attacks Thomas faced were unacceptable. But Colson is conflating 2 separate issues, whether the play deserved a suspension based on the rules, and whether fans overreacted online. The league can't refuse to suspend players just because they're worried about social media backlash. That's not how competitive integrity works. But there's a bigger issue here that Colson is dancing around. She mentions that Caitlin Clark embellishes at times in certain instances. She's suggesting that Clark sells contact to get calls, and that framing that Clark is partially responsible for the physical play she receives because she exaggerates fouls is exactly the narrative that's been used to justify rough treatment all season. This is the same logic that allowed Kennedy Carter to hip-check Clark to the ground in June 2024 without a flagrant call. The same reasoning that had Kennedy Carter body-checking her away from the ball without immediate consequences. The idea that Clark brings this on herself. And now Sydney Colson, a former teammate, is repeating that narrative on ESPN. Think about the position this puts Clark in. She's already dealing with opponents who test her physically every night. She's already navigating a league where some players resent her popularity and the attention she brings. And now a former Fever player is on national television suggesting she embellishes contact and implying the league overreacted by suspending someone who hit her in the head. How is that supposed to make her feel about the organization she plays for? How is that supposed to make Fever fans feel about supporting this team? Because here's what Fever fans are seeing. Their team brought back Stephanie White, whose rotations have been questionable at best. They're watching attendance drop despite having the biggest star in women's basketball. They're seeing ticket prices stay high while the product on court disappoints. And now a former player is on ESPN undermining their star. Pacers Entertainment better hope Caitlin Clark is more forgiving than her fan base. Because those empty seats in the upper bowl, that's what happens when you lose the trust of the people who were ready to support you unconditionally. They're not just frustrated with coaching decisions or roster moves. They're frustrated with an organization that seems determined to waste the opportunity they've been given. The Fever compared themselves to Apple in April 2024. They wanted to be a household name, a cultural phenomenon, a brand that transcended basketball. And they had the perfect product to make it happen. The most popular player in women's basketball history, coming to a basketball-crazy state, playing in a modern arena with corporate backing. 1 year later, they're explaining away empty seats on national television. So what happens next? Does Pacers Entertainment finally acknowledge they have a coaching problem? Do they make the hard decision to move on from Stephanie White before this season becomes unsalvageable? Or do they ride this out, hope things improve, and risk alienating the fan base even further? Because right now, Caitlin Clark's fans aren't just staying home from games, they're checking out emotionally. They're questioning whether this organization deserves their support. And once you lose that emotional investment, it's almost impossible to get it back. The Fever have the biggest star in women's basketball. They have a brand new practice facility. They have ownership with deep pockets and NBA infrastructure. And they're squandering it with questionable coaching, tone-deaf media appearances, and an apparent inability to read the room. Indianapolis deserves better than this. Caitlin Clark deserves better than this. And those fans who are staying home, they're sending a message that Pacers Entertainment better start listening to before it's too late.